Hello, and welcome back to Through the Trapdoor. I'm Katie.
And I'm Emily.
And this is our podcast where we read you Harry Potter fanfiction.
Yes, we do.
That's what we do every week.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Most of the time.
We try.
Yeah.
But sometimes life gets in the way.
Yep.
Like we go on vacations or one of us gets sick.
Yeah.
Like we're recording our second episode of this evening tonight because...
Yes. I'm going away next weekend.
Yes. We're planning ahead instead of when I went away and we went, oops. But I'm going back to my OTP.
Yeah. Got some Hermione Fred for me today.
I do, and it is a fluffy little one-shot.
Yes, let's do this.
It's called Toast.
Okay.
And all it says is Fred and Hermione have a late-night chat in the common room, so I don't know where the toast is going to come in. But we'll have to wait and see. It was dark when Fred entered the common room that night. All the candles had been snuffed, the fire was only embers, and he was pretty sure he saw a house elf scurry out of the portrait hole. Detention had been brutal. He was exhausted. Not feeling up to the task of more stairs, Fred stumbled to the couch nearest the fireplace. He lowered himself onto it. However, the couch had become quite lumpy. What did we say?
Yep, that was a good interpretation.
Great. Oi! Fred rolled onto the floor in a startled clatter. I love all of these words. Snuffed clatter.
Yep.
Am I reading A Christmas Carol?
I know, that's what it feels like. I love it.
He regained his composure and crouched by the human. He hoped it was human. That he had nearly squashed. He hoped it was nearly. Hello. No. Aloha Mora. Say it right, honestly. Oh, it's you, Hermione. I'd recognize that honestly anywhere.
It's fantastic.
I love it, yes. Huh? Who's there? Hermione stirred and sat up. She cast the bluebell flames in at the fireplace. That incandescent fire flickered instantly, casting a soft blue light across their faces. It was clear she had fallen asleep reading one of her large tomes. Her face relaxed when she recognized that it was one of the Weasley twins. Guess who? Fred gave her a coy grin. Hermione hunkered down on the floor next to him to make the dim light work in her favor. She leaned close. Oh, hello, Fred. She could always tell. He huffed in frustration. How? I'm a witch, she replied smugly. Yeah, okay, but how?
Harry can tell them apart, too.
Harry could always tell them apart. I'll tell you if you tell me why you're up late. Trying to cop a feel?
Hermione, he was trying to lay on top of you to sleep.
I was not. You know, Alright, I was out late because I had wretched detention with Snape. Did you deserve it?
Probably.
Well, yes, but that's quite beside the point, isn't it?
Also fair.
And what, pray tell, did you do this time? Hermione said, grinning. Fred tried not to show the fluttering feeling he was getting from her smile. Oh, melted a crater in the floor. Maybe a bit on purpose. Hermione grinned wider as she crossed her arms across her chest. What exactly? I was distracting Snape so he could sneak out. He's interested in a bird. A lady. Who's the bird?
Okay, then.
Who said anything about birds? Did you mean Hedwig, Errol, the delightfully neurotic Pigwidgeon? Okay, Lee has a secret crush. I get the picture. So what did your detention entail? You're Muggle-born. You've heard of cement, no? Yes. Well, that was it. Snape had the ingredients. I had to mix, pour, and smooth out the crater. No magic. Can they really make you do that? Probably not. But Snape was so livid, I consider it a favor that my bones and brains aren't completely in a jar themselves.
True.
I suppose. Right then, your turn. How do you tell George and I apart? Oh, yes, okay. It's your eyes. Really? Our eyes are pretty similar. What do you find different? Not collectively your, but singular. Your eyes. My eyes? Yes. Well, go on. What about my dashing eyes?
Oh, Fred.
This is why I love him.
He is my favorite.
So my favorite. Hermione looked down nervously. I'm not sure if... Oh, come on. I've done loads of stunts that have put me in embarrassing situations. We're all Gryffindors. Be brave, Hermione. What is it about my eyes that gives me away? She loves you. Hermione frowned at first, but took a deep breath and smiled and looked at him. They dilate. Your pupils dilate. It's a sign of, physical attraction? Well.
Okay, then.
They both blushed. However, Fred's cheeks grew significantly more red. It was the first time Hermione had seen him at a loss for words.
Dun, dun, dun.
She rested her hand on his arm. It's really okay. I'm flattered. I noticed it over the summer while at the Burrow. We were all at dinner. You and George sat across from me. You made a joke. You both looked up, and I don't know, I just noticed your eyes dilated and his didn't. Fred turned towards the fire, stretching his long legs across the floor, and he slumped back against the couch with a sigh. I suppose you've told Ron and Harry?
No, she's a girl. She knows better.
Oh, you mean daft and angst? No. I haven't said anything to them. I figured you'd either come around to the idea of it or get over it. Either way, I wasn't going to sit and wait for you to figure it out. In fact, I'm a bit miffed that the science of it has ruined it. Since I told you, you won't be interested.
I doubt that.
Hermione, how do you feel about the idea? Fred interrupted. Of what? You? Oh, I guess I could say there was a reason I was looking. Well, he's smart and funny.
Yeah.
That's really all it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? How very interesting. Oh, shut up, she smacked his shoulder. There was a brief lull where they both awkwardly smiled at each other and then at their own hands. I don't know why I couldn't read that sentence.
I mean, that does sound appropriate. It's what you do.
Fred sighed. I guess we should go to bed. Separately? Sorry, I didn't mean. Hermione was laughing so much she had doubled over on the floor. Laugh away, Hermione. I'll just keep blubbering over here. Oh, I'm sorry. I've just never seen you this flustered. You're always cool and collected, unless you're opting to showcase. I only like looking like a fool when it's on my own terms.
Yes, of course.
But I think I'm pretty average in that, don't you? Yes, most likely. There was another awkward pause. Hermione, why do you stay up so late? Do you really get more information? Sometimes you're so tired at breakfast that I don't know what it's worth.
It's a good question.
It is a good question. Well, sometimes I just need a bit of time that's uninterrupted by other people. Whoops, sorry about that. Oh no, she chuckled. It's all right. Obviously, I wasn't studying. She motioned to the couch in mimed sleeping and smiled at Fred. And for all of you listening at home, I made a Vanna White hand movement.
She did.
When I did that. Moments of rapid nervousness passed. Neither knew quite what to do. Fred was the first to speak again. Hey, the Three Broomsticks sometime on a Hogsmeade weekend?
Fred.
Yeah, what about it? Go with me? To Hogsmeade? Yes, and you know what? Fred squared his shoulders. How about really going with me?
Good.
As in, be your girlfriend? Yes, absolutely. Too much?
He's adorable.
He is adorable. This is why I love him. This is why I love this fluff. Too much. I don't think so, but before I say yes or no, I need a bit more information.
Of course.
It's very Hermione. I'm an open book, Fred gestured, his arms spread out. Not quite what I meant. Hermione smiled. Fred was cut short by his own confusion. He noticed something in her eyes, something new, an intensity, a heat that he had never seen before. There was an extremely awkward pause.
Is she gonna kiss him?
I think she's waiting for Fred to realize she wants him to kiss her. Oh, Fred beamed. Right. He slid the short distance between them, turned his body towards her, and she mirrored him. They were both cross-legged, and their knees were touching.
That doesn't seem comfortable.
No, it doesn't. It really does not. Fred smiled, laughing awkwardly, and then spoke again. Okay, honestly, I've thought about this before, and I'm a bit off guard, and it's not at all what I imagined.
Well, no, you're both sitting cross-legged on the floor. Nobody imagines that.
No, nobody does. Does not spin the bottle.
Mm-mm.
It's not good. What did you imagine? Most of it involved swooping by on my broom after a Quidditch win. Oh, really? You thought that would work? Hey! I'm sorry, but that's not exactly romantic. Not for Hermione.
Not for Hermione.
And what exactly is romantic? Fred leaned back a bit and crossed his arms. This, you and me, alone, talking by the fire. I like this a lot. I could get used to this. I would also get used to that.
Yes.
That sounds lovely.
It does.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So awkward.
So adorable. So cute. Fred frowned in curiosity. Did you ever wish before now that this would happen? Yeah, of course she did.
Of course. She wouldn't be asking you to kiss her otherwise.
Seriously, dude.
Hermione's not a spur-of-the-moment person.
No, not even a little bit.
Except when she punched Draco in the face.
Ugh, the best. Absolutely amazing.
That's probably the only spur-of-the-moment thing she ever did.
Yes. Yes, I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is always planned.
Yes.
Yes, well, kind of. I noticed that when you would get up to leave, either at dinner or to go to bed, I found myself wishing you'd stay. I figured it was best to ignore that feeling, though. Why? I would have been thrilled if you tugged on my sleeve and asked me to stay. That's adorable.
It is.
So cute. Hermione placed her hands on Fred's knees. But I didn't know that, and I wanted you to say because you wanted to, not because I asked you to. Fred softened and reached out and rested his hands on top of hers. I always wanted to stay, but I figured it'd be too obvious.
I get that.
Fair. Fair. Little did you know, Hermione smiled at him. Fred took her hands in his, caressed them with his thumbs. Your hands are tiny. I'll still hex you into next week, though. He chuckled and leaned in. Just then, the portrait hole swung open, and they could hear the fat lady complaining. Who's there? Do you have any idea what? She yawned. Hour it is? Fred and Hermione froze. She put it together first. Harry? She asked in the darkness. Damn! Harry pulled off his invisibility cloak and stepped back inside the common room. No, carry on, by all means, Fred encouraged. What's going on? Harry stammered. He set the cloak on the back of his chair. On the back of a chair. Not his chair, it's the common room. Just a chair.
Maybe it's just his chair all the time. You put a name tag on it.
Hermione rolled her eyes. Harry, honestly, cover for me and I'll cover for you. Now, go find Cho, wherever she's hiding. Poor girl's probably catching a chill. Right, night then. Harry opened the portrait hole again and ducked out. Hermione was turning back to Fred, about to comment when suddenly she was pulled forward on top of Fred. He laid himself back on the floor and held Hermione on top of his stomach and chest. He was pleased to find she was laughing. Her laughter was beautiful. It filled his soul.
Oh.
That's so sweet.
Oh.
He tickled her sides, and she giggled and twisted frantically in his arms. Well, yeah.
Don't tickle me.
No. You have to stop. I'll screech and wake everyone up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He stopped, but continued to hold her close. He was grinning from ear to ear. She had been holding herself up, trying to avoid collision between their foreheads while being tickled. He tucked a curl behind her ear, and she let herself down so she was resting on her elbows. They stared at each other, but they were so close it made each other's face blurry. They're like...
They're touching, basically.
Seriously. Fred? Yeah? Is your heart racing?
Yes.
He nodded. Yeah. Me too. They bridged the gap. Fred was pleased to find Hermione was just as graceful and kissing as she was at most everything. He had found himself staring at her lips more than once, wishing he could kiss her. He watched her bite her lip in concentration. He watched as she smiled at his jokes. He imagined kissing her as they passed in the hall. Actually, kissing her was far better than anything he'd ever imagined. Hermione's heart beat so fast that she was certain Fred could feel it. Heat rose in her cheeks. All the air was suddenly gone, but she didn't care. The pair kissed and toyed with each other when they both ran out of air. She nestled into him, laying her head on his chest. She let her legs rest comfortably against him. Would they not? It would be so awkward. Were you like up on your? Were you in a push up? Like were you on a plank? What's happening?
Yeah. What was going on?
Rests comfortably against him, and while it was certainly obvious, she made no verbal note of the particular evidence that he was very interested in her. He returned to running his hands up and down her back. She tucked hers underneath his arms and held him tight. She felt so comfortable with him and he with her. A quiet settled between the two. The next moment, someone was shaking Hermione awake. "Hermione, I can't cover for you if you aren't at least a little discreet," Harry said, his invisibility cloak draped over his arm. "Harry, love you, mate." "Bugger off," Fred mumbled, but Harry was already at the first stair. "Thanks, Harry. Good night." They were clearly just asleep on the floor.
Yeah.
Hermione called after him. She tried to push herself up off Fred, but was quickly restrained. "Hey now! Since when is Harry the boss of you?" Fred said.
Since clearly she's tired and should go to bed.
Seriously.
She's now fallen asleep in the common room twice.
Seriously, twice. Come on, Fred, let her go to bed. "Since when are you the boss of me? I'm tired and I'm going to bed." Hermione wrestled free and sat up. Fred sat up, leaning back against his hands. "Are you going to ignore me at breakfast tomorrow?" "Nose in a book?" "No, she's not. I would
No.
assume not." Hermione frowned, slightly offended. She stood up, straightened her jumper. "I wasn't planning on reading at breakfast tomorrow. I was planning on sitting next to you and nicking toast off your plate." Fred shrugged to his feet and kissed her, wrapping his arms firmly around her waist. She returned in kind, holding him close and kissing with fervor. I wanted to read that in kissing for forever, but that was not.
Kissing forever.
But that was not the line. With fervor was the line. After the swell of affection subsided, they parted. Fred helped Hermione collect her books from the couch and the floor, and he carried them to the stairs for her. "Shall I chance the slide? Or shall I just chuck these up as high as I can?"
That one. Do that one.
Do the second. She rolled her eyes but giggled. "I can handle them from here, thank you." He handed the small stack of books over, eyeing her warmly. "Miney, I hope you sleep so peacefully that even Peeves couldn't wake you."
Okay. Why would he be in their dormitory?
I don't know. Peeves does some weird shit.
True. Though I do feel like he's like...
He seems to stay out of common room areas.
Yes.
He seems to only stay in hallways and classrooms.
Which I feel like is acceptable, but like...
Very acceptable.
Yeah.
That even Peeves couldn't wake you. He'd only wake me if you sent him. "It's probably true," he grinned cheekily, leaned down, taking her face with one hand, and he kissed her cheek. He lingered, tracing his nose next to hers. "Why?" "That seems weird."
Kind of, yeah.
Alright, at least as long as we know it's weird. Before gently kissing her on the lips, he stepped away too soon for her liking, but the books were actually quite heavy. She started up the stairs to the girls' dormitory, but stopped and looked back. "Breakfast then?" she offered. Fred nodded. "I'll save you some toast."
So cute.
The end.
I loved it.
So adorable. So cute. See, I needed to go back to my OTP after accidentally reading Dry Reef for like ever.
For like 7 weeks in a row. It
I
was
know.
too much.
Too much. And I don't like Drarry that much. I don't know why I kept finding that weirdness.
I don't read any more Drarry for a while.
Yeah, I need to
Mix it up.
put on the brakes for a bit.
All right.
I think that's everything.
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
We don't often.
Someone leave us a review and we'll read it to you.
Please review us and rate us and follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all those things.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on our journey through the trap door.
Please leave us a review on Facebook or iTunes. It would literally mean the world to us.
It really would.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Through the Trapdoor 16 or on Twitter at The Trapdoor.
And please send us an email at throughthetrapdoor16@gmail.com with any story suggestions. And as always, join us again next Saturday as we travel through the trapdoor.